This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Painting with Rob. Today we are going to be putting together and priming and getting ready Warhammer's Underworlds Shadespire. Now, I could do just the regular guys in here with the Chaos guys, but that's been done with Age of Sigmar so much. I want to break out the Spectral Guard. So we're going to get these bad boys put together. We're going to get those guys put together. We're going to get them primed. And guess what else we're going to do? We're going to throw on a base coat. And then next week, we're going to finish up painting them. And we're going to get ready for the Thanksgiving Brawl, where we're going to play live. And we got to play painted. I mean, it's the only way to do it. So why don't we get that onto the table? Now all we got right here is 3 guys. That's all that we have to worry about for the good guys. And basically, they give you a nice little thing on the back here to help walk you through putting it together. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do mine. So let's clip out all these pieces and I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to make this easy for everybody, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a few things here. Now when clipping these guys out, of course you want to get as close as you can and clean up so you don't have a lot of flash hanging over. Not everybody has small X-Acto cutters. A lot of times you guys have things like this, believe it or not. So how do you get in here without breaking the model? As you can see, these are pretty big. What I like to do, and sometimes it's just a little bit more work, if I have to use a pair of pliers like this, I'm going to cut all the way around. And that way I have the actual piece here, so I can get as close as I can. See, if you try to cut sometimes with the little edge there, and what's going to happen is you are going to clip the model. And that's the thing that you really don't want to do. Now make sure that you're not clipping a part that goes in together, like that part there is something that we have to have an edge on. And then over here, all we do is just clip here. See, a lot of us don't have those really nice knives. Well, actually I do, but I wanted to show it and make it easy for everybody. And you still get the same result by cutting it and clipping it properly. Just if you're not sure that you can get it out, like some of these things you can get out with just a clipping right there. Boom, that's out. But some of these you can end up damaging the model, like his sword here. If you're trying to cut in here, you might get a good part of the sword. So just go a little to the side there, and don't be afraid to just cut into the whole big piece and then trim it up later. Like here, again, we're just going to go boom. And then we're going to go boom right there and right there. And there you have it. You got your piece all ready. I'll be back once we get this all cleaned up. Okay, so we got our pieces all cut out and all cleaned up and everything like that. I like to use Ultra Gel Control Loctite. I think it's the best one around and it works the best. So they're very simple and the instructions are very easy. You see this guy, he's can you make me look tough a little bit? Yeah, okay, pal. He doesn't look like very tough right there. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of this glue and I'm just going to hit these little areas here. Just a little bit. That's all you need. You just to hit those joints, and then we're just going to take this piece and we're just going to squeeze until we have no more lines in there. Perfect. Just like that. There we go. So there he goes together, no problem. And then there's just a little area here, so we're going to put a little bit of that Loctite glue, and this stuff glues up pretty quick. It's super glue. And it does a great job. It just keeps everything together the way we want it to go together. And all I'm going to do, because I'm left-handed and I do everything backwards in the world, and we're just going to try to squeeze these guys together. Remember, all you want to do is just get in that groove there and try to get it as close as you can so you could take out any line so you don't have to fill anything, and boom, there we go. Now here's something that I'm going to show you that we're going to do, and all I'm going to do here is just put this guy in here like that. I'm not going to glue him in because we're going to want to paint those bases later, but I want to save this the way it is now because I'm going to use this to hold my figure. So when I paint him, I'm going to be able to get everything that I want to get and be able to use this to turn, and then afterwards I will take care of the base. So we're going to get all kinds of different colors of paints on it, but that's okay. Let's get the rest of these guys together, and then we'll take a look at them. And the whole thing with this is just getting enough glue on, making sure that the burrs are gone. If your wife or girlfriend, or maybe even you, have a nail file, any nail file will do. An old one, anything, just to get some of these burrs off, so you can just put this in here nice and easy like so. And just be careful with it. We just put a little bit of glue on there, just enough to get it on there, and then we get that in there, and we push everything nice and neat together, and we got our guy all jacked up. There's a little space there, that's okay. And just squeeze that together. And honestly, if you wanted to, you know, you could just put these guys on the base and play with them as they are. You know, play a few rounds before you paint them up. But we're going to paint them up because we're going to get these done in 2 parts along with the other guys, so we can actually play with them painted for you guys. So I'm going to glue this last piece on, and then we're going to take a look at the skeletons. Okay, the thing I want to show you with these skeletons, if you happen to go out and get this set, that they are a lot thinner. The plastic is a lot thinner, so you got to be a lot more careful. And if you notice, look at the size, and let's compare sizes here. Look how thick this guy is compared to this guy. So when you're cutting them out, you're going to want to be careful because these are very thin pieces of plastic here. So you want to take your time and make sure, like for instance, I am just cutting certain edges here, and I'm cutting deep so I can clean up later, and I'm not worried about having to take the time to clean up more. And I'm doing this for you know, I have a very nice clipper set, but I'm doing it for people that do not have clippers, you know, and don't want to go out and spend, you know, $10-15 for a pair of clippers when you've already gone out and spent a bunch of money for these guys. As you can see, I just cleaned this guy up pretty quickly. And it's by working out, and then, like I always tell you, it's almost like painting in a way where you start to work inward. So I'm going to get all these clipped up, and again, like I told you, you know, especially with something as brittle, as you can see, that's a very thin piece of plastic. You want to be very careful, go wide, and it's easier to clean up later. See, like that, and then take a little file to it. And it's easier to do that than to actually cut the piece and make a mistake. Because if you break this, guess what? You don't get it back. You don't get a second chance. So being smart and slow and working out and then working in, depending on your clipper. Even if you have a good pair of clippers, you may want to do the same thing. And just make sure. Don't try to wiggle them out like this. Yeah, I mean, you could do that with the bases, but you don't want to try to turn these out. The skeletons out, because you will twist this plastic and break it. So I just want you to be very careful when you do that. Alright, so let's get these out and then we'll start getting them together. Alright, so these guys went together. Now again, I can't stress enough how you got to take your time with this and make sure that you read the instructions, because there are a couple things that are a little tricky, and you can bend these models and break them. Now, as you can see, once again, you can play blue versus Xandri dust right off the bat. I mean, skeletons versus our Sigmar boys right off the bat. Now, you can do that, or you can paint them. We're going to paint them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take and get these primed. Now, am I going to show you getting primed? No, because we're going to be doing a painting 101 next week on that. So I'm going to get these all primed up. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about these as we get these all ready to play. Okay, so I happen to have some sprays. You can see that that's partially on here only because when I sprayed it, it didn't cover very well. So I came in and I put them on the stands and I just touched them up a bit. But I sprayed with a Reichland a Retribution Armor. It's a very expensive spray, but what it does is, especially when you're painting these guys, the Steel Hearts, it takes a lot of our brush work out. So as you can see, I just sprayed some, and then I just came in and I opened up a bit and just touched up some of the areas to make sure that we got good coverage. Because sometimes, even though you're spraying, you don't get all the areas. For the skeletons, I sprayed a Xandri dust. As you can see, the reason I did that for an undercoat is because it's going to cover, these guys are mostly bone, and what I wanted to do was take some of the stroke work that I had to take out and just get a good undercoat that would cut some time off. Now, if you had to do this if you don't have these colors, because they are spray paints from Games Workshop, you can just spray them a flat black and then take the Retribution Armor and go over the area, and also here spray black and then take Xandri dust, which is just another base color, and just paint over these guys as you need to get them to this point. So we're going to let these dry a little bit more, and then we are going to take it to the next stage. So now that we got these guys dry and everything, and the next step is to put a wash over them. And what we're going to put is a Reichland Flesh Shade over there. This really is going to darken up this armor, and that's what we really want to do. We really want to take and make this armor nice and dark and make it so we can bring it back out. It's going to get all in these recesses. You see how that's getting in there all nice and everything? And it gives a different tone to that armor. You know, like it gives it some dimension. And by getting this flesh shade into these recesses and all along the shield. Let's get our backside. And you want to be careful. You got your brush and you can move this stuff around. And that's all you want to do is just move it around. And get it up to this point here. And you can see that it's going to want to always run downwards. Your wash is always going to run down. And I'm just going to throw a little on there just for fun. And it's going to pool up, but that's okay because this is just getting the base ready, and that's all we're trying to do is get this base set all ready for what we're about to do next. We're really going to work on just really bringing this all together, because what we're going to do is we're going to add color in here, and then we're going to add a few more washes in there. But doing this really helps us with our armor right off the bat, because it's just going to make everything a lot easier. Now this takes about 45 minutes to dry, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get that on there, and then basically maybe go eat dinner, go out, go do something, play a game, 45 minutes or under or something like that. And we're not worried about getting it on his head, on his cloak, anywhere, because we're going to be painting over that. What we're doing is we're just getting this into the recesses and working it all in there. And that's all we care about, is getting over his armor. Like you can skip over his cloak in the back here and just kind of work that in there. And you can see where it's starting to, it just kind of brings in the detail there. And that's all we want right now. We just want to highlight that detail and get all this nice wash into the recesses. And then we're going to destroy it all, because that's what we do. So we're going to put this down, and we're going to move on to our skeletons. Now for our skeletons, we're going to use an Agrath Earthshade. That's going to really get them ready for what we're going to do, and it's going to darken them up. And that's exactly what we want to do, because again, we're going to be working outwards, and we want everything to appear like it's bone. So again, we don't mind just going over everything, and you can see where, again, we're just trying to get this color into the recesses, and we're just going to work that in. Oh, who cares? We can get it on the gravestone, we can get it everywhere on this model. It doesn't matter if it drips down, because it's just dripping on the base, and we're going to take care of that base later on. So all we're doing, and you see where it's getting into his eye sockets, in between the bone, because we're going to work all around that. And of course, we're going to paint this cloak and everything, and the sword a different color. So we're not worried about it pulling up on the sword or anything like that, because we're going to paint all over that. But we want to make sure that we move this around so it doesn't pull up too much. I'm not worried about that sword. So as you can see, that really darkens him up and brings out his face features. So again, let's do it one more time. And we're again just taking that brush, just going over the entire model. Don't worry about it, just work it in there. And you can see this is all just skeleton, and that's all we care about, is just getting him all darkened up so we can really start working on the bone features that he has. And by getting this into the recesses, now you see how that just sits in there, and it gives that bone structure. That's exactly what we're looking for. And we're not worried about the shield or anything like that. We're going to get in his eye sockets, but we're going to paint all over this. And that's what the highlights are going to do. They're going to bring out the strengths of this particular model. And this is a beautiful model. As a matter of fact, all these models, the one thing that you will always get from Games Workshop is quality, and they give you everything that you could possibly want as far as a good quality. Now we're going to go over with another wash at some point, and maybe I'm just overdoing it by just throwing everything on here the way I'm doing, but I do like to just make sure that I get every area. You see there's a little hand here holding on to the tombstone. I think that's really a cool feature. I mean, there is some thought when they put these guys together, so you know you're going to get the best of the best here when you get that. So without further ado, let's just get a little more on his face there, and you see where we want to get that into his eye sockets, we want to get that into his features, and we just want this all to dry. So I'm going to finish up the rest of these, but that's as far as we're going to take these today. We're going to take these to this wash, we're going to let them dry, and then in part 2 we're going to start our highlights, and we're going to finish up the steel hearts and of course the skeletons. Then we're going to play the game on Thanksgiving. So I hope you enjoyed part 1. We showed you how to put it together. We showed you how to prime it and get the base color on and get our first wash on. Now we're going to start putting on our primary colors, and we're going to highlight out. So there you go. Why don't we set it up top and take it on out of here. There's part 1 done. We got them all. We put them together. We glued them. We got them primed. We got the base coat, which takes out one of the colors that we wanted to do, and then we put a good wash over them. So step 1 done. When we come back next time, which will only probably be a couple days, probably Tuesday, we're going to finish these guys up. We're going to show you how to do the bases. We're going to get some more of the base colors on. We're going to show you what to use for base colors, and we're going to get these guys ready for Thursday and our Thanksgiving beatdown of, yes, Warhammer Shadespire. So, I look forward to doing it, and until next time, I'm Rob Orrin, and we will see you soon.